Hello friends, Namaste. Welcome to the video presentation on Vedic memory skills. My name is Sai Kiran and I'm basically a world record holder. I'm also a Limca record holder. I'm also India Book of Records holder in the concepts of Vedic memory. In this video, I'm going to teach you some of the most kept secret techniques and the best kept memory techniques in the world. These techniques don't just boost up your memory, they also boost up your mind power at the same time. Please watch this video from the very beginning because all the basic skills are linked to the higher skills. So if you quickly jump to the higher skills, you want to understand what's happening there. So I suggest you watch this video from the very beginning. If you want the best results from this video, I suggest you follow the instructions very carefully given in this video, as it is not a real class, it's a virtual class. Well, we are apart from each other. You can't really come and talk to me directly. So I suggest you follow the instructions very carefully given in this video to get the best output out of this video session. In this video, I'll be using very simple language so that the viewers of all the age groups can understand the techniques better and learn the mnemonics much faster. Please maintain a book and pen handy because there are certain exercises given in this video which you have to work it out practically. So please maintain a book and pen handy and follow all the instructions very carefully. I promise you by the end of this video, if you follow the instructions very clearly and properly, you're going to be a genius by the end of this video. Okay? So make the best use of this video presentation and become a genius. So sit back, watch this video with a lot of focus and attention. These are one of the most kept secrets called the Vedic memory skills, and this is going to make you surely a super genius. So listen to me with a lot of attention and focus, and all the best to you all. Okay, let's first understand what is memory. Okay, memory is one of the most important faculties of the brain. Okay, we need to first understand this. And what is memory actually? We define memory as the ability to remember, the ability to grasp, and we also call it as retaining, we call it as learning, we call it as storing. There's so many other words by which you can express memory. Okay, but in this video, whatever we're going to talk scientifically. Okay, so scientifically speaking, memory is a process. Now we first understand what is process actually. Now process means a step-by-step working procedure. For example, I can say digestion is the process. Now what happens in the process of digestion? Okay, the very first part of digestion takes place in your mouth. Now what happens in the mouth? We first keep the food into the mouth, right, and then we chew it down. See the teeth inside the mouth, they break down the food into tiny particles, right? Then along that, inside the mouth, the salivary gland secretes saliva, right, and the food becomes lubricated. Okay, after the mouth, the food goes into the esophagus, and we call it as the food pipe, right? Via the esophagus, the food goes into the stomach. What happens inside the stomach? Inside the stomach, the food is churned. You understand churning? Like we churn the curd to make buttermilk, right? The same churning process happens inside the stomach. Okay, and after some hours of churning, the food becomes like a dough. Okay, and then some glands secrete digestive juices. Okay, and these juices act on the food and the food gets digested. Almost the food gets digested, but there will be some more food which is not slightly digested. Then from the stomach, the food goes into the small intestines, right? Inside the small intestines, what are the food particles which are not digested inside the stomach? They get digested completely. Then after the small intestines, the food goes into the large intestines where the absorption takes place. It will absorb all the energy from it, and then the other undigested food goes into the next stages. Okay, colon, rectum, and out via the anus. Okay, so this is the process of digestion. So whatever we actually keep in the mouth doesn't get digested immediately. It has to undergo all this process. Similarly, memory is also a process. So whatever we see, whatever we hear, it will not go into the memory directly. It has to undergo some process. Okay. So what is memory? How can we define memory as? Okay. Memory can be expressed as a process of 3 R's there are three stages in memory. You can see out there. Okay. So R, R and R. That's the meaning of the three R's. Okay. Now let's understand what are the three R's. Okay. The first R is record. The second R is retain, and the third R is recall. So record, retain and recall a given data is known as memory. That is the official definition of the word memory. Okay. Now we'll first understand what is this record, retain and recall. Okay. First let's talk about record. What exactly is recording? Recording is basically the input. For example, like in a computer, what are the input devices? Okay. So the input devices are the keyboard, the mouse, the webcam, the like mic, the scanner, the joystick, the touch screen. All these are inputs for a computer, right? Now, what are the inputs for this computer? So the five senses are the inputs for our brain. Okay. Now, the ability to see, the sense of seeing, the sense of hearing, the sense of smell, the sense of taste, the sense of touch. The five senses are the inputs for the brain. Okay. So we basically input the data through five sense organs. Okay. So the second R in our process is retain. Now what is retain? Retain is like saving the data. Like after we type in some data into the computer and you don't save the file, what happens? The data gets erased and lost. Okay, so only when you save the information, the data gets stored. So inside the computer, where does the data get stored? And the answer is hard disk, right? So the data gets stored in the hard disk. So in us, where does the data get stored? The answer is the brain. The data gets stored in the brain. So retain means to store the information. And the third R, as you can see, it's recall. Now what is recall? Recall is basically the output. Now in a computer, what are the output devices? There are basically only three output devices in a computer. They are the monitor, the speaker and the printer. Okay. And the audio output or video output or the text output. Okay. So in us, what are the output organs? Okay. How do we give out the output? So what are data we have in the brain? What is the way how you can express it out? Okay. And the answer is there are only two outputs in us, and one is by speaking, oral. Okay. We either speak out and express the data out, or the second one is by written. We either write and express the data out. Okay. So the process of record, retain and recall the given data is known as memory. Okay. Now data. Now what exactly is data? Now many people they understand data means something very big, it is something very complicated, but let me put it very simply. Let me tell you what is the official definition of the word data. Now data means a piece of information regarding any given thing. Now let me tell you, everything in this universe, living and non-living, contains data. And what do I mean by that? I mean to say that everything has data. Let me give you some example of data. Let's first take an example of a non-living thing. Okay, you can take some thing like a chair. Okay, and then see, I'm saying that's a chair. Okay, it has a name. Okay, so that is data. Not only name, there are so many other things. Okay, let me first explain you how many types of data exist actually. Okay, so if you can see out there, data are basically two types, and on the whole three types. What are the two types of data? Okay, the first one is the alphabetic data. Like for example, everything in this universe has a name. Everything has a name. Nothing is left unnamed. Okay, so alphabetic data, that is the example. Second is the numeric data. Everything in the universe must and should and will have some kind of numeric link. So that is the example of numeric data. There's one more kind of data which is actually a combination of the first and second, and that is the alphanumeric data. Okay, let's talk about the examples. With the examples, we'll talk about this alphabetic, numeric, and alphanumeric data. Okay. Okay. Let me first talk about some non-living thing. We'll take example of the smallest individual part in the universe. So what is the smallest individual part? And that's called an atom. See, even that is named. The atom we can't see with the naked eye. Okay, but still that's been given a name. That's called an atom, right? So that is the example of alphabetic data, that everything has a name. Now what could be the link to this atom? What could be the numeric link to this atom? Okay, so there are three particles inside the atom, and they are electron, proton, and neutron, right? So see, that atom that has the alphabetic data. Okay, the numeric link to that is the three particles within it. Okay, so that is alphabetic and numeric data. Okay, now for examples for this alphanumeric data is like passwords, mathematical formulae, chemical equations. So they have alphabetics and numerics put together. Okay, so that is the example of alphanumeric data. Why non-living things? Even living things have data. For example, you have a data, right? You have a name, right? So you have a name, that is alphabetic data. You have a number link. What could be a number link? Your height, your weight, your age, or your class. Okay, so all these things, you are known with some roll number or some serial number. Okay, so all these are like your numeric link. What could be our alphanumeric data link like? And the example is of our passwords in the computer. We have some email accounts and we have some passwords for that, and they're all like probably alphabetics and numerics put together. So that is an example of alphanumeric data. So this is about the memory and about the data. In the next section, we'll see some higher concepts.